Ho ho buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth, and today we're playing Beyond Our Rule Ripper. In the last episode, we did something, didn't we? We had a confrontation with Darts, and then we had our second council about to start when Jin revealed her number to be 7 because we'd all agreed to... No, was it Jin that said it? No, it wasn't. It was Cigar that revealed her number to be number 7. And then someone did an accusation, which means we all have to vote on who is number 7 instead, I think. And then they have to reveal their number. I think that's how it goes. And everyone's voted. I voted for Poker. We're going to find out who was voted for. Let's go. Let's go. Accusal finished. Cigar has obtained a majority vote. Cigar is not rule number 7. Ooh. Okay, we're in trouble. Cigar's in trouble. Beyond R. Okay, now the second council is happening. The Scod Council. That's kind of cool. Is that how the last one started? Whoa, look how low that is. Okay. Ooh, who? Oh. Right, we need to slow this down. How do I slow it down? Wait time. Speed. Can I do that? Wait time. More. That might be better. We had a deal, right? We can talk about that in a moment. But first, for your safety... Should what? Was it you? Please, calm down. Darts is right. Sadly, you need to give out your rule. Give us your number. I know, but... Sorry, it's my fault. You? I mean, I didn't do it, but it was me who proposed the pact. And now... Fine. Don't blame yourself. We're all too innocent. Oh. My real number is... What is it? It's 5. What's 5?
Well, one mystery down. Don't worry, madam. At least now they can't vote for you again.
I suppose.
And it's not a dangerous rule. Nobody wins anything by going after it.
I can't remember which one Rule 5 was. I can't look at that right now. It's the safest, in fact. Even if we know it, it can be changed later on for a different rule, different one, and you'll be safe again. Wait. That's only true if somebody dies. Sure. After this, though. Okay. Calm everyone. We should be calming people. Calm down. No. We can't let this defeat us. We can't let this defeat us. Some of us went too far, maybe led by curiosity or fear. Still, we need to remain united. Panicking because it's on a timer. I was never really sure if we were united to begin with. Clearly not. Even if that's the case, this alliance needs to survive. If we want to survive ourselves. You expect me to forgive people who tried to kill me a second ago?
They couldn't kill you.
just reveal your real number. And it wasn't very useful. What? Hey, let's carry calm and keep on. That's not how you say that. I don't condone what happened at all, but even though it's a hard pill to swallow, it'd be hard to find out who did it. We should let it go, just this once. Right, let's get this speed up. Up. Wait time to the max. That's great. That'll be good, I think. This time. And what's the plan if it happens again? There we go. That's alright. There should be some consequences, otherwise this pact lacks any meaning. That might be true, but if we don't know who broke their word, there can't be any consequences. Correct. And that's the critical problem. The reason this betrayal has happened. I admit that in my case, being discovered as 5 isn't as bad, but for others... Whose turn is next? On the third one. Mine. Still planning on following through with a number next time? Now's the time to speak up. It's disappointing to see how some were capable of doing this behind our backs. I'd be lying if I said this didn't make me question whether I should continue to be part of this alliance. But regardless of my reservations, someone has to do it to keep all our antidotes in reach. So? To be honest, I'm ready to keep my word, but only if by doing so we can truly escape. Now that you mention it, we've yet to talk about it. We need a plan to escape. This pact is fated to fail without one. Right. We need Rule 2, right? It's the only way. Yes, we need their cooperation, but... If 2 was willing to help, they'd have done it by now. We'll have to find out who it is, with the data we have. Find out who it is and kill them. Sounds like it might be the only way, but if we do it by force, they could oppose us. And it might be me. Does anyone have any data on 2? Wait, I think it'd be better if we do it privately. Why? So that 2 can feel safer. We need their help. Yes, that might be for the best. Little wink. Even then, I'm not sure that'll work. If only 2 can go out, we won't get very far. So what shall we do? She's French. Take a wild guess, girl.
Off them, you mean? No wonder they're hiding. I'm not saying that's the only option. But it is, right?
Bum 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 bum.
Who knows? After that, the discussion stagnated.
Everything hanged by a thread. The relative peace couldn't last much longer, and they all knew that. If there was no other choice, Bill would have to find whoever possessed Rule 2 and convince them to help. Or, if it was him after all, get to work. If anyone has any information on number 2, please tell me privately. Nobody said anything about his petition, but everyone agreed on ending the council prematurely. Oh? And after the council, his fears were confirmed when nobody approached him with information. If someone had some data, they weren't willing to share it with him. Chapter end. So not much progress. Introduction interviews unlocked in the profiles menu. Cigar, poker, coffee, vodka. Cool. I thought it was going to last a bit longer. Council finished pretty abruptly. Interesting. Possibilities. What was his name? He never used it for all the time he'd been with him, referring to him as Big Brother, as a Big Brother. He was sure that they had introduced themselves when they first met, that he had no doubt heard it from other people. But that identity had disappeared from his memories. What's going on here? Say, what do you want to do? Dunno. Play something? The boy laughed a bit at his answer. No, I didn't mean right now. What would you like to do in the future? The future? He'd never thought about it. Was there a future? He didn't think about the future as something that awaited him tomorrow, or in a week, but as a faraway concept. A time he couldn't possibly imagine in his young mind. Though he did know, better than most kids his age, that the present didn't last forever. As time goes on, everything changes, reaching completely different futures. The reason he knew that with so much certainty was the same reason as why he was there with that person. And it was precisely because he knew that he couldn't imagine that future. Because that future could be practically anything, something he could not predict. And among those infinite possibilities, there was the possibility that such a future simply did not exist. That was something else he knew well for his age. Death. Limit. After the council, everyone went together to the counter to get their antidotes, same as before. They started to feel the effects of the poison on the way there, but unlike the previous hour, vodka endured, and there were no incidents. Good man. Although physically unharmed, the council had damaged the group's morale. Bill still retained a small hope of someone approaching him to talk. However, as he drank his antidote, it dispelled alongside the poison. Could he really be number 2? That thought refused to leave his brain. Likes black coffee, 1579. Travel to another country, 345 910. Neither data applied to him. That left him with 3 possible numbers, and one of them had also been ruled out by the messages he'd received. 2. You must remain inside the golden jack. 6. In an accusal, a person with the accused number will have to abstain from voting. If a majority is reached but the chosen person is incorrect, those who voted for that person won't be able to vote for them again. One of those 2 had to be his, and now, with access to new data, the truth could finally come out. He went into the data menu and opened the 3rd one on the list. Attempted suicide. An unavoidable shiver ran through him. That data went much farther than he'd ever anticipated they would go. The amount of numbers was also unexpected. Just 2. Why just 2? That made it a powerful data to discover them, and they weren't rules he could disregard. There was a macabre irony in that one data being tied to the number that could kill others directly, and the number it could link with. A dangerous pair he had to be wary of. But his goal wasn't to reveal anyone's number, aside from his own, and unfortunately those two were already discarded. He could wait for another hour, for another piece of data. Maybe he could interrogate every player. He'd started to feel them distancing from him, however. Those betrayals had broken their trust and it couldn't be easily recovered. Maybe that path was a dead end. If everything was to go downhill, with disaster awaiting at the bottom, waiting for another hour was too big of a risk. The next council could be the beginning of the end. If the likelihood of being 2 was 50%, or even if it wasn't, he had to make a move. Vodka's words came back to him. He could no longer look away, waiting for all of them to join up. In that case, slowly he stood up. The decision had been made. His legs were shaking. Clearly, he wasn't mentally ready to do it. Then again, he'd never be. He turned his back on the counter and, making sure nobody followed him, headed to the exit. Ooh, am I going to be number 2? Outside. He'd actually done it. He couldn't believe it himself. No turning back now. He had to keep going, no matter what awaited him. Outside the bar, as expected, wasn't the outside world. They were inside a much bigger place, with a completely different look from the bar. In the worst case scenario, he'd just broken rule number 2, and an hour later the poison would kill him. But there was hope. What could he do now? Best case scenario was escaping and finding help, but considering number 2 could exit the bar without consequences, his hopes weren't too high. Yet even then, he would search until he found something. Be it the antidotes, anything that could help them, or at least information. What if I'm not 2, and then 2 dies? Do I still die, or do I get an antidote? Holding tightly to his hope, the boy ventured into the unknown. Boy? That's me, I'm a boy. He had no clue on what the place was, and there were no windows to see outside. Still, it was much bigger than he'd imagined. His time was limited, but at the same time, the bigger it was, the bigger the chances of finding something. With that goal in mind, he went up to one of the doors and opened it to check inside. No. That wasn't what he was looking for. It was the opposite of what he needed, in fact. The room he found behind that door was what he'd feared since the start. A weapon arsenal. The necessary ingredients to produce the worst end possible. A massacre. None of the weapons there were powerful enough to blast a wall and get outside. Not like he knew how to use one in the first place. Even if there were any. It was useless. He had to keep searching, hoping that none of the weapons would ever be used. The more he explored that maze, the bigger the sensation of being watched grew. Maybe it was due to his restlessness. In fact, that was probably it. And yet, while it made sense for it to be pure paranoia, he couldn't disregard the possibility that the mastermind was watching them suffer. That had to be it. His sole motive. Enjoying their suffering. It was the only way to make sense of that whole situation. Only a maniac would do something like that. Only a maniac would do something like it. After some time, he started to feel like he was running in. Circles. That layout was confusing, possibly on purpose. Every once in a while, something felt familiar, making him feel like he'd been there before. Perhaps that was the case, or just his imagination. He checked his barman, needing to know how much time had passed. How much time left for the poison? Oh. Warning. You've broken Rule 2. You'll be eliminated from the game. That was the message welcoming him after turning on the screen. Being in a hurry, he hadn't checked it since going outside. Either way, it no longer mattered. His goal hadn't changed. He had to hurry. He needed to find the antidotes. Up to that point, he'd gone in a relatively fast pace. But now he was running. An exit. Help. Information. At least some answers. There's a nothing but weapons. Before he realised, he was screaming for help, asking to be saved. But the only response was his own echo. A passing thought of returning to the bar went through his mind. Unfortunately, by that point he didn't know how to go back. No, even if he could, backing off would make his sacrifice pointless. He refused to do that. He had to be strong. The decision had been made, knowing the risks involved. He would keep running, looking for his salvation, until he found the life that had been snatched away from him, for which he'd worked for years. He had to do it, for himself, and that person. He'd made it. Finally. He had done it. That was the first time he'd seen that corridor, and that door. On the other side was the exit. It had to be. Just a bit more, and that nightmare would come to an end. That godforsaken bar. That endless labyrinth. Finally, he could leave it all behind. His happy ending was waiting for him. Oh, trying to ignore the poison's pain as much as he could, he kept going. Come on, Bill, you can do it. Come on, buddy. Just a bit more. Quickly. Just a bit. Dead. Is this a dead end? Bad end. One stroke. Ooh. Whoa, what's happening? Are we at the beginning again? Welcome to the Golden Jack, now officially. Why officially, you ask? Because you cannot say you have truly been in the Golden Jack, if you've not experienced death at least once. We meet again, this time in a bit of a different context. Yes, it is I, that voice in your head. Who am I, you ask? I know it must be vexing, but my willingness to divulge that information still lies far. What I can do is give you my role, my position. I am the person in charge of guiding you through this little labyrinth. Following each death, we shall meet again, but I cannot guarantee that all that I can provide will be of great value. In fact, it would be better if you do not expect such a thing. You'll not find answers here. Those lie in the game itself. However, I will make sure that every little visit of yours is worth taking with some advice. With introductions out of the way, we can get to the truly important thing, your first death. The trajectory of the ball went awry, and this is the result, a blunder. I do wonder though, did you also believe that you were ruled too, or did you foresee the mistake in his actions? Logic seemed solid, yet it was not. Cornered, and with no other option, the ball had to be launched with an assumption that ended up being wrong. He may have died, but you were here, alive, and can try again. He cannot use his information while you can. He cannot use his information while you can. Use it well. The question now is, what path do you take? When was his fate decided? This might surprise you, but the solution lies in the First Council. Oh. Indeed, ever since then, his death was certain, at least from our point of view. He could have not taken the decision to leave, and his fate would have changed. Slightly, anyways. You probably want to make that choice for him, but sadly that's not possible. The rule does not listen to reason, and his decision is firm. But even if he had not left, even if his life would have likely been extended, how much more would it have been by? The end he desires might be unreachable. There exists only one way to prevent him from going out of that door so that his future improves, by taking a road that does not seem ideal contrary to his goals, but that ironically will extend his life. Let's say it was one of fate's pranks, or perhaps it contains some meaning. That's all I will say. Any more would decrease my neutrality somewhat, and even worse than that, take away some of the fun, no? Though before going back there, a discussion on what happened is required. It begs to be done. Although it ended with his death, you got a little look at the enigmatic world outside, even if very limited. It is too soon to reveal any more. Does a salvation truly exist? Billiards did not find one during the hour he had outside, but it's still too soon to give up, right? Maybe he simply has no sense of direction. This was only a preview of what is to come. I can hardly contain my excitement. Enough. Time to go back to the First Council and to take another path. One that extends the life of this rule a bit more. You can go back to the timeout, but I actually recommend you go back to the start of the council, where you will find the option to jump forwards. Bigger and harder challenges await you. Await you too. Bigger and harder challenges await you too, and I will be here to observe them with full interest. With you too. Let's make a toast in honor of a fruitful game, and the souls of these lost rules, for the Golden Jack, and for our dearest owner. So you're not the owner. Reach ending 3. Extra unlocked in photo album. Yes. So what happens now then? If I say return. If I say enter. If I say enter. We'll reset all achieved endings. Keep data. I want to keep data. Or do I go to here, where the council is? Timeout. Or here? What to do? Okay, well I guess we're going to work out what to do next to my Borderland games. I'm going to check whether I should be going here, whether I should be going here. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Beyond R, Rule Ripper, and I'll see you next time. Have a good evening. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye. Bye 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 bye.